Tonight, the CDC has issued new guidance on getting kids back into school. The upshot, the government's top experts think most of the country's ready for reopening school buildings.
Yeah, the new guidelines include a color-coded system. Parts of the nation with low transmission are encouraged to open up to fully in-person education. Places with higher transmission rates are urged to do hybrid models. Now, most of the tri-state is already doing some type of hybrid model, but the I-team found there are still some huge pockets of Black and Hispanic students totally locked out of classrooms. News 4's Chris also asking some questions tonight. Top among them, why white students are twice as likely to have access to in-person learning.
In Newark, Ayanna West has been learning remotely for nearly a year. She's a 13-year-old who has not seen the inside of her high school. But she and her mother have noticed in the news other New Jersey school districts are opening classrooms, and more often than not, those districts are predominantly white.
I don't understand, like, the color of my skin defines whether I get an education or not.
Ayanna's frustration is borne out by the numbers. The I-team analyzed more than 580 New Jersey school districts and found 4 out of 5 white students enrolled in districts with at least some option for learning in the school building. But most Black and Hispanic students are still locked out of classrooms, fully remote.
There's no other way to put it. It's point blank racist.
Is it a racist outcome if white kids are twice as likely to have access to in-person learning?
I think that this is an extremely important topic.
Newark School Superintendent Roger Leone told us his classrooms remain closed not because of racism, but because school buildings here have older ventilation and the virus has been deadly.
At the start of the second wave, we were about 25% with a positivity rate in Newark.
But critics say keeping classrooms closed because of higher community spread amounts to a form of implicit bias, like if police avoided some neighborhoods just because there's a higher crime rate.
Because they're black, let's just go there. Because they're black, because they're urban.
Corey Teague is a father and a Patterson school board member who has criticized teachers' unions for agreeing to go back into many white classrooms, but blaming old buildings to keep urban districts closed.
Every school district has old buildings.
The teachers' unions get all the say-so when the district is majority black. And yet when it's parents who push back and those parents are white, then the teachers' union doesn't fight back as hard.
We asked New Jersey's largest teachers' union about that criticism.
Is this an example of implicit bias when teachers in white neighborhoods are generally going back into the classroom, but teachers in minority neighborhoods have not done so?
What you're mixing up is fear versus fact.
Marie Bliston is president of the New Jersey Education Association.
This is not natural for any of us. Nobody wants to get back into those buildings faster than what we do. But we cannot go in there unless those health and safety standards are in place.
The union says inequitable funding is the real source of systemic racism here. 67 years ago, the landmark Brown versus Board of Education Supreme Court ruling was intended to desegregate schools and ultimately reduce that inequity. But decades later, New Jersey consistently ranks among the most segregated in the country.
There were some districts that were able to fix their ventilation. There were some districts who were able to get the filters in, but it does take funding.
As for Ayanna, she is well aware past injustice contributes to her being stuck behind this laptop. But it doesn't make it any easier to swallow today's decisions.
Why don't I have the opportunity to go to school?
The teachers union says its advocacy on which classrooms to keep closed has been straight across the board, paying only attention to health and safety. If you'd like to see how all 580 plus New Jersey school districts stack up when it comes to race and remote learning, you can go to NBCNewYork.com, where we have an interactive map. Chris Glorioso, News 4, New York.